What's up everybody? Welcome back to the third episode. So in today's video I'm going to be explaining services and players. So the first thing you want to do is have a server script that kind of establishes what framework you want. So we'll have the players, and how you actually get a service is by saying get service from the game's data model, and you just say players. So there are multiple different functions how you want to use your players. So right here I'll just create a brand new table, which if you watched episode 1 where you learned tables and variables, you'll know that you want to specify your variable names. So we'll have players in game, and we'll just create a simple caching system where we take the players that we have added and we put them into the game. So the player added is a connection system. So basically what a connection system is you connect to this, and anytime the players are added into the game, it'll fire this, and this function will be called, and it'll send the player through as a callback, or as an argument. So right here we'll just insert here the players in game to player, which this is very useless, but this is just used as an example. And basically we'll just warn out saying that player.name has joined. So one thing about warn is you can concatenate using these commas, and it'll manually create a space. So you don't exactly need a space right here, you just need a comma. And of course getting the player's name will tell you their username. And this is the same for all the data models, where you can see the property right here, name will be players. And then of course we can come here and do the same for removing the players. So for removing the players, it's practically the same, except we'll use a brand new method called table.find, which I don't know if I explained it, but table.insert basically just takes this table right here and puts the player in this table. If we find the player, so player exists, basically what we'll do is we'll just say, oh, if we find the player and players in game, it'll return the index. Whenever I insert, it'll take the number of players in the game, it'll go +1 and set that value to player, and then we'll just get the value right here. So basically we'll just say that if the player does not exist, then we'll stop the function from running. And then of course we will use table.remove, and this time we'll remove the number of the player's ID. So basically we insert the player into the players in game, and that creates a new number. We get the number in here with table.find, and then we just say that if there's no number or if there's no player that's stored in here, then we stop the function from running entirely. We just return nothing. And then we remove from this table, players in game, the player's ID or the player's number in that table. And then now we can just say that player.name is left. So now if I just go ahead and open up my output and I hit play, you'll see BlueShellDev has joined, which that is correct, as that is my username. And then we hit stop, and oof, okay, let's figure this out, guys. Oh, I see. Alright, I messed up. So what you want is you want to say if the player does not exist. So if not player exists, then we'll return. Basically saying not is this will either return a number or it'll return nothing. So if the player exists, it'll return the number that the player's stored in the table, but if not, it'll return nothing. And if we say that if player exists is equal to just not, meaning there's nothing there, then we'll just stop the function from running. So now if we click play, you'll see BlueShellDev has joined, and we hit stop, and BlueShellDev has left. And this is great for just like systems where, let's say you want to have players be in a mini game, and anytime a player dies you want to remove the player from that table, then you can use this. But other than that, it's useless, as if you come here and say players get players, it'll return a table of all the players in the game. And so this is practically useless, and this is just used as an example. And you can actually use this to create leader stats, which I will go over in this video. So what are leader stats? So leader stats are like the player's data, like how much money they have, and things that are stored in there. So many developers, they don't use leader stats regularly. They actually use modules, which is something I'll teach in the future. But for now, we'll use folders. So the variable name, of course, that doesn't matter. And we'll use instance.new, which that'll basically create a brand new object. And this object will be a folder. This folder will house all of our data. And we'll stick that folder inside the player by adding this comma. This is a second argument saying that we want to put this folder or a new object inside of the player. Now, make sure you name this folder. So you want it to be lowercase, because if it were messed up where this was uppercase or if this was uppercase, then nothing would display. Because the Roblox system, it reads this as all lowercase leader stats. And if that doesn't exist, then it won't display the data. So we'll have the money. And basically what this will be is it'll be a number value. So one reason why you might not want to use an integer value is because integers, like I said, are numbers that don't have decimals. So if you're taking an exact amount away, like $0.5 or 50 cents, then that number won't be subtracted correctly. So you want to use a number value because you can go down to the fine decimal point. So like I said, make sure to name your variables appropriately as well as naming your objects. And as a base, we'll just set the value to 0. So now let's say whenever the money gets changed, which this is a connection that will fire whenever the money is changed, then we can just warn out the money's value. So then we can just say player.name now has, and then money.value. So now if we run this, then you'll see we have our money right here in our leader stats folder. And whenever this money gets changed, let's open up our output. If we change it to 100, which, oof, we've run into an error, guys. Alright, now I know why. Okay, so one thing is that on the client, the server will not be fired. So currently I'm on the client because I'm looking in my camera, my view. So I'm on the client. However, if I come here to home and I change this from current client to current server, then I'm allowed to change my info inside the player, and the server will read that, and it'll say Blue Shirt Evans now has 100. So what is 100? 100 of what? Pineapples? Apples? Bananas? So let's specify in our warn statement, and let's just say now has money.value, and we'll just say money.name. Now, this might not exactly be useful considering our variable is named money and we can simply just say in quotes money, but this will be a good example for learning how to concatenate with classes and all these other objects, and it'll be very useful in the future. So now, of course, if we take our money and we change it to 100, you'll see that I now have 100 money, or if I change it to 200, you'll see I now have 200 money. So data store or saving players' data is something I would definitely do in the future, as it might be a little bit advanced and I'd like to teach more about functions and all this other stuff in the future. But that was basically services, and this is players and how players can be added into games and registered. Make sure to check out all the other episodes or future episodes, as they'll go over way more topics, and these last 2 episodes have been very successful. I've taught a lot about variables, functions, and all this other stuff, and it is a great watch, so go watch it. And make sure to comment down below what you made using this system that I taught.